Munich Security Conference is the biggest conference for the security and foreign affairs concerns of the broadly speaking Western political world since, I believe, 1963. Rubio's speech was, for an obvious reasons, the most important single speech. I personally think many of the European leaders would have given very different speeches had they known what Rubio was going to say. So you can hear people like Merz in Germany saying Western Europe and America very much as deep allies, and he says that America is the child of Europe. Echoing the same philosophical sentiment I mentioned, I think is essential that we develop and recover, that Americans should see themselves as Europeans of a new future form, just as Europeans should see themselves as the parents of a kind of new future versions of themselves. And I believe that exact form of consciousness, which they themselves share, the same kinds of people that voted for Trump exist in every European society, and they know it. And they were afraid of how do you keep those voters from voting for the wrong candidates. And so the tactics they used in that, I think we all now agree, probably broadly backfired. The far-right parties or right-wing parties are growing and increasing to grow in Europe. And Meloni, for example, in Italy, has not turned out in any way to be a right-wing authoritarian. She's actually unquestioned regional independence. And the question of whether it's possible isn't the right question. It's happening, and it's going to strengthen Europe. And I believe a stronger Europe is good for the global order. It's a more effective partner for America. And Rubio brought through clearly in his speech, that's actually what America wants. It wants a more effective partner because it admires this partner very much. And so if you see Rubio as the translation of Trump's sort of difficult to stomach tactics into, and they want the ability to do this, and they don't want to have to depend on America anymore. And I would say, as someone who's watched Trump for over a decade, that is definitely what Trump wanted. He was giving speeches years ago saying, you Europeans have never given this minimum amount to your defense budgets. You must do it. And so while people may not like the tactics, Trump was correct that it was better for Europe to invest much more in its own defense. And then the Ukraine war, and seeking to try to find ways to still use the euro and other forms of power to integrate the European nation states. I think seeking to do that in a way that respects the national sovereignty of their member states, while also recognizing they do need, for very good reasons of efficiency and speed and agility, to be able to project economic and military power as a regional unit, as the EU. This is something I think, for good or ill, ultimately it's going to be good for Europe that Trump involves and in our own strength and sovereignty. And I believe that the next stage of this process is for America to develop a much more diplomatic stance, you might say, in its rhetoric towards China,